Patreon Q&A number 78, part 2. Part 1 was released earlier today. I still want to thank all 130 of my incredibly overpowered patrons. Guys, your support means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough. To everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers in these questions and answers, so tread carefully. Bryan asks, hey, Z bad word. We're not allowed to say that on YouTube anymore. Hope you're healthy and having a good week. I mean, I feel healthy. I just hope it stays that way. I hope everyone else is, and including you too, Bryan. I was wondering, do you think towards the end of the series will we see King's luck run out against a monster or somebody else he chooses to fight and to protect that he's showing a true hero? I don't think this is going to happen. And actually, a few people are asking me that question this week, but I think that King is going to ride it out until the end of the series, never being truly exposed. Maybe like, I don't know, he'll be exposed in some way, but not like to where everybody sees that he's like not strong or everything. I think that's pretty much going to ride out until the end. I don't think one intends to pull that veil from over him. Second question, how cool would it be if the UFC hosts these next fights in the mountains or some, because they can't have any fans present. So they just did one this weekend in Brazil, and they kind of just blacked out the whole entire audience and zoomed the camera in so that you couldn't really see the vacancy there. And it was fine. The event went accordingly. It was just really weird when they did like the post-fight celebrations, like when Gilbert Burns knocked out Damian Maia. He started screaming in celebration, but it was just weird because that's all you heard, and it was like echoing throughout the arena. But they're also going to cancel fights in Vegas. Like normally the UFC was going to bring them over to like their private venue in Vegas, but now they can't do that anymore. So I just hope that they move Tony Khabib to somewhere, you know, wherever. If it's in the mountains, so be it. Let's do it. I just want it to happen. Dino W asks, hey, Shonen, hope you're staying healthy with all the crazy stuff going on lately. Hey, I'm trying, Dino, and hope you are too. It seems like the spoilers for My Hero getting early this week, so I'm going to go ahead and ask this now. For the UA Trader stuff, I think it might actually be Hagakure. If it turns out to be Kaminari, do you think he chose not to inform the villains about the Chainsaw Nomu being compromised when Momu revealed that she put a tracer on it? That's the only thing that keeps me from really thinking that it's him. I actually totally forgot about that story element. I think that might have been a mess up from Horikoshi, honestly. He does, mess up sometimes. No mangaka is perfect. But I don't think that, if anything, is the solid proof that would convince him to be the traitor. And I think he proved it in the most recent chapter that he's definitely not the traitor. Or if he is, I think it would be odd that Horikoshi just decided to go along with that whole sequence there and then just reveal that he is afterwards. But I think we're going to have to move on to the next suspect, and it's definitely Hagakure, who has yet to really have a fleshed out backstory at this point. And given that she's invisible, there's a possibility that she's not even like a teenager. She could be like, I don't know, 30 or something for all we know, and she's just playing it up. But there's definitely going to be a traitor. I would be extremely surprised if there wasn't. My second question is, do you think the support team during the Monster Association Hideout would have been able to take Garo instead of Death Gatling Squad? I don't think they could have. Definitely, probably a more powerful group. I mean, obviously, because they have more individuals here, more A-class heroes as well. But we saw how they went against Rhino Wrestler, and they got wrecked pretty much. And Hero Hunter Garo, especially at that point in the story, is much stronger than Rhino Wrestler, in my opinion. So I think Garo would take them all out, even if they were all fighting together in a similar fashion and rhythm. But I mean, he would struggle like he did against Death Gatling Squad, but he would definitely get the job done. Liam asks, hey, Shonen, first ever question since becoming a patron. Love your work, and I can't wait to see you get into Mob Psycho. Hey, thank you, Liam. Anyways, my first question is, do you think King's charisma and luck will have an effect on Blast, since we see Saitama is immune, and I'm wondering if Blast is also so powerful that he's immune as well, and does he know that King is a weakling? So Saitama is not immune to King's charisma. Check out my video on how powerful King is, because Saitama was super interested in King after seeing his encounter with G5, broke into his apartment pretty much just to hang out with King. That's how interested he was in him. And even after he found out that King was a weakling, he still wanted to be his friend and hang out with him, and pretty much forcing himself on King, which is, pretty uncharacteristic of Saitama, considering that he doesn't want to really do that with anyone. So he's definitely affected by his charisma. And as for Blast and King, I made a video about this as well, King versus Blast. It ultimately comes down to how powerful Blast is, which we don't really understand yet, but I'll say for now that I think Blast will probably be the least affected by King's charisma, but still affected by it, meaning that, he'll show King respect, but he probably won't fear him or respect him as much as the rest of the S-Class heroes. My second question is, do you think King will ever be exposed by either the heroes or the monsters as weak. I talked about this earlier in the Q&A. I don't think that he will. I think that he's going to ride out the rest of this series, still being the king that we all know and love, and no one will probably ever know how weak he is. I think it'll come close to that. We'll definitely get a lot of moments where we think that it's going to happen, but I don't think it ever will. MemePriest asks, hi, Shonen, hope things are well. My questions for this week. Thank you for putting up with my grammar mistakes, by the way. Hey, it's no problem. I'm no snob when it comes to that stuff. We're all on the internet after all. First, how powerful do you think Gearspur could become if he were to train with Genkai from Yu Yu Hakusho? I'm guessing somewhere around mid-demon, but I could be wrong. Genkai, that's an interesting pupil for him. I'm not really sure if Genkai could help him with his Esper abilities. I suppose that she could because, you know, she's very well-rounded. But just specifically working with Genkai, I mean, in theory, he could definitely get to demon level. It's all about having him have a consistent level of power and control over it, you know, what he was able to do to Neon. So if he could just do stuff like that all the time, then yeah, that's definitely minimum demon level stuff, but it's like, could he become stronger than that? Was that the apex of his power? It's unknown at this point, but in theory, he could even be Dragon. What if Tank Top Master decided to go strength and speed body, let him be around Awakened Cockroach in this scenario? It would definitely benefit him, but would he sacrifice some brute strength in the process of that? It's unclear, but if he were to have Awakened Cockroach's speed, Tank Top Master might even be able to go to Dragon level, possibly. I mean, his strength is pretty damn good. You know, it's certified S-class level. I mean, he's like the gold standard for that, but it's like if he had the speed to match his strength, would that send him to Dragon? Maybe. I mean, he's already like a high demon right now, so it might be able to push him there. My boy, Mr. Toby. What's good? I've returned, my boy. First question, how strong would Genos be if he was modified with Boros' ship? I think if he gained these parts, he'd be nearly indestructible. You'd have a high dragon or greater with that type of durability. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see something like this with Metal Knight towards whenever his arc comes around. And I'm sure they're going to be, like, ridiculously powerful. Like, maybe even taking a punch from Saitama powerful. Because, you know, we saw when he was punching and wrecking the ship, it was still standing. And also, like, taking those bullets that Tatsumaki sent back at it. So, I mean, if we had, like, a little crazy powerful dude compressed with that stuff, like Genos, then I guess, yeah, nearly indestructible at that point. Maybe even above Dragon in power. I mean, I think that's fair to say. I mean, his power output would have to match his durability as well, but if it did, above Dragon. I mean, if not, and he just has that crazy durability, he could be a high Dragon. Who is stronger, Transformed Orochi or Monster Queen Psychos? I think they're around the same level of power. It's difficult to say right now, considering that they're both showing different feats against two different opponents. You know, Saitama and Orochi went against each other, and we saw that, as well as Orochi versus Garo. But now we're seeing Monster Queen Psycho's just using like Esper abilities against Tatsumaki, and what she was able to do against her was very impressive, of course. But I think at this point they're somewhat relative and probably around the same level. We'll just have to see more in the next coming chapters to get more of a definitive answer. Mr.Awsome asks, hey Big Z, what's up? My first question this week is, who do you think would win in a fight between Garp or Bang? Prime Garp, old Bang. Yes, it sounds like it. Yes, it does, kind of, a little bit. I'd say that, man, I really hype up Prime Garp. I really love Garp. I think he's an awesome character. And even in his current age, he's still a beast. I mean, he knocked Marco pretty bad, you know, when he was trying to go up to the pillar to save Ace. And that showed us that Garp is still around that level. And, like, when he did step in, everybody just kind of stopped. And they're like, wait, Garp's fighting? Oh, man, I can't believe Garp is stepping in. So, and also, you know, the God Valley incident and all that stuff. So, Prime Garp was absurdly powerful. You know, absolute master of hockey, we can assume. And current Bang, I think they would have a pretty competitive fight, actually. It's hard to say who would win. I'll just say Garp because I just have a soft spot for him. But, you know, probably wrong. Who knows? Well, I doubt we'll ever see Prime Garp's feats. My next question is, if Dr. Bufoy, Genus, and Crusader combine their minds to create an artificial god, let's say Bufoy creating the mechanical parts, Genus, organic, Crusader putting it together, can this creation of science dream defeat Golden S, Awakened Garo, Saitama, Hot Dog Man? Anyway, Big Z, hope you get everything you deserve. You rock. Hey, thank you, Mr. Awesome. You rock too. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say if they can make a god level guy. They could definitely make it above Dragon level guy. I don't put that behind them, and I think they can make something as strong enough to defeat Golden S, maybe rival Awakened Garo, but Definitely not defeat Saitama or Hot Dog Man. Nameless asks, Z-Bob, me boy, I hope you're doing great. Flipping fire content off the stove. Hey, thank you, Nameless. I am doing great. I hope you are too. I can never really think of two questions. So anyway, here it goes. I was wondering who in DBZ would be comparable to Meteoric Burst Boros. I was thinking around 100% strength. Final Form Frieza, to Cell with Android 17 absorbed, maybe Perfect Cell, maybe be a bit much. I know they could be consistently blow up planets than Boros. Just say he has enough stamina to keep up with the fight. I'm wondering your thoughts on who would give Boros a fair fight without it being a low diff on either side. Love the content, keep up the good work. Hey, thank you, Nameless, for all of your support. I really do appreciate it. So, yeah, Frieza and many other Dragon Ball Z characters can casually blow up planets and stuff like that, as opposed to Boros, who needs to release all of his energy to destroy it. And I like how people just try to equate that casual planet busting means that, oh, naturally, they're stronger than another character, and it doesn't really work that way. And I think it ultimately comes down to DBZ just being that inflated with powers, with feats of powers from, like, energy projection and stuff like that, rather than, like, physical feats like movement and punching and stuff like that. Obviously, Boros excels in that field, and his feats look insane. If we're comparing like that, the One Punch anime to Dragon Ball Z's anime, Boros would appear to be stronger on paper. If you're taking out Frieza blowing up Planet Vegeta and all that stuff, you would say that Boros is probably stronger because his feats look more grandiose. But, the power scalers will say, well, Frieza and Cell are solar system busters and all this stuff. And it's like, it's just apples and oranges, ultimately. So just to be fair and not to trigger too many people, I'll say that Boros probably isn't as strong as Final Form Frieza. Maybe less than that, possibly, meaning that, yeah, definitely less than Cell. And as for the characters who've given Boros a fair fight without being low diff on either side, we've got Tatsumaki, Awakened Garo, and that's about it right now. Maybe Orochi. Maybe, without being a low diff, maybe it's like a mid diff with him, possibly. Rain Above All asks, yo, show, just a side comment before I get into the questions. I finished the whole story mode on Hero Nobody Knows, and they messed up the final confrontation with Boros. It kind of ruined the whole story. Yeah, kind of did. It didn't completely ruin it for me. The game was just kind of like an arduous task to get there, but it just kind of was lazy how they played out the whole Boros thing, with the ending of the game. So I've been thinking about who would rather be a final opponent for the One Punch. I think everyone's pretty sold on God, but I'm thinking that it could be Blast. Actually have a real personal stake in defeating Saitama. I think an emotional brawl between the two human characters has more potential than Saitama essentially just beating another big bad because humanity is being threatened. Wouldn't it be better to have human versus human element and go ahead and allow Blast to be able to push Saitama? I just think the hype would be so real. So what do you think? So I do think that God will definitely be the last opponent for Saitama. I'm surprised if he's not. But that doesn't mean that Blast isn't going to fight Saitama. I still think that's going to happen. It's just going to happen before the final battle. And we can still have an emotional brawl, but it won't really be that significant because Saitama is still going to be grossly overpowered compared to Blast. At least I assume so. And in order for it to be even more emotional and have the stakes raised, it's going to have to be Saitama versus God as opposed to being Blast. But that arc and fight will represent its own significance to the series. It just won't be the ending. Second question, how badly do you think the My Hero movie's ending hurt it? Because for me personally, I think that it was rather close to being 9 out of 10 because of the weak motivation from the villain and Bakugo getting amnesia. He could have just given it back. It was phenomenal before that. I just think it would have been a perfect end to speak volumes about his character. Thoughts? Appreciate you a lot, Joe. It's great to be able to nerd out with somebody who enjoy conversation starters. It's hard for me to get that from too many people around me, so thanks. Be safe out there. Hey, no problem. Rain above all. You stay safe out there, too, and thank you for the support. So I don't think the movie was necessarily ruined by it. It had a lot of issues going into it. But it's like the thing that really bothered me the most was just Bakugo getting spoilers. For everyone who hasn't seen the My Hero movie yet, spoilers incoming. 3, 2, 1. I had a problem with Bakugo just getting One for All and then automatically going to 100%, and then him be able to just use it on the fly. How they transferred it via blood, which is strange, and the amnesia. It was just kind of like fan service. It felt like fan fiction that was animated. Like some lucky fan won a contest and they got to make the ending for that movie. It was kind of just like a cash grab almost. But yeah, I mean, it's whatever. It's just a movie after all. Sean asks, hi, it's my first time asking a question on one of these. Thanks for the hours of entertainment. Hey, thank you, Sean. I was wondering if you could tell us anything about your daily process in terms of recording, researching, and editing content. Basically, I'm just curious how you avoid burnout or the procrastination or laziness that can come with self-employment. I'm impressed with how consistent you are because I know firsthand how difficult it can be to self-motivate if you work for yourself. Hey, thank you, Sean. So the recording, researching, and editing is basically like a day, like a full day process. I'm always researching. I'm always reading. I'm hardly never not doing that. And then the recording and editing, it just gets done when it gets done. It takes a couple hours. I need to get ready to record, and when I'm content, then I'll just record it. And the editing can take anywhere from like 2 to like 6 hours sometimes. It's difficult. Everybody whoever edits knows that, but. As for the consistency and the motivation and stuff like that, it just ultimately comes down to discipline. I live a very regimented life. It took a while to get here, a lot of trial and error. But motivation comes and goes, as we all know. And when motivation is gone, discipline has to take the place of that. So as long as you're consistent and stay regimented on a discipline and try to avoid as many vices in your life as possible, you're going to get the job done and be able to do it every single day. But as for burnout, I think that's different on an individual basis. Some people really just allow themselves to fall victim to it and just accept that they are burnt out, so that's it. And then, if you are feeling burnout, or if I am sometimes, which will happen, after like 3 months of going hard in the paint, I'll just take a day off or something and then I should be good. ThighsOfZeus asks, yo, show this week I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on Mob's question mark percentage form from Season 2, Episode 5? It seemed to be a Planet Buster, but this was in the mine world. We've seen something similar in the first episode, but I don't know how to derive power. Mob-kun really is. So that was definitely planet busting. That was like easy planet busting feat in that episode. Yes, it was in the mine world, but I'm sure that he could probably do something like that in reality, maybe something close to that. Haven't read the manga yet. I'm only on season 2, so it remains to be seen there. But yeah, he basically just vaporized the world into dust, right? That's seemingly what happened, considering that he was just floating in the ether. We saw like the galaxies behind him, so that was like even above, like that was like end of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super levels of strength in theory. Like I said, it's unknown how that would translate into reality. Second question is, why do you think one's characters are so great? His characters all seem awesome and easy to get invested in. Why do you think they're all so great? Thanks, Shonen. Take it easy. Hey, thank you, ThighsOfZeus. I think they're all great just because one is. They're all definitely extensions of one in one way or another. Like his personalities, his hang-ups, the insecurities that he has. It's all coming from a personal place, I feel. And it ultimately comes down to just one is awesome. That's really it. It's like he's just a really funny, cool person. And obviously he's introverted, you can tell. But like when he's really expressing himself, it comes out in his art, into his characters. And that is ultimately the reason why they're all so great. I mean, also just look at the consistency of his series as well. Water Bottle asks, hello, Shonen, what do you think would happen if evil natural water made it into the ocean? Would it be able to absorb it into himself? And if so, what would its disaster level be and how powerful would it become? I think it would be disaster level god at that point, because I'm sure that an evil sentient ocean would be deemed a threat to humanity, as well as its difficulty of extermination would be near impossible without destroying the entire ocean, which would turn into destroy all life on Earth. And I think it would... I don't know. I'm no scientist. Hey, me either, Water Bottle, but let's try to figure it out. So I'm not sure if evil natural water could do that. I mean, in theory, I guess he could, because like towards the end of his time in the Monster Association arc, like when he shows up against Saitama, he's huge. He's like the size of a skyscraper, meaning that he's absorbed that much water in that time span. So since he can hold that much water and control that much, could he control the ocean? Maybe not. Now, he would likely be a disaster level god because he's covering, 70 or 80% of the Earth at that point, and imagine the jet streams and stuff that he could do. Is he unbeatable? No, because he ultimately comes down to you having to destroy his water hard. But, it is made of liquid, as Child Emperor said, so it's extremely difficult. It's like needle in a haystack. But I mean, I'm sure if Saitama, like, punched the ocean or something, he could kill evil natural water with the shockwave or something like that. Yeah, it would probably cause many natural disasters in the process. But, you know, just for the sake of the question, Shigaraki, when he comes out of the tank, extra level god, and you would need Saitama to be able to take him out at that point. Crusader Deus Vult as Deus Vult Seed is I, Crusader. My friend has turtles and they swim and I also swim. Perhaps I am part turtle. I believe that you're probably part turtle. My first question is, do you think Saitama and Garo will end up fighting so fast the time stops as we see things around them explode and freeze and moving it just like Flashy Flash with Hellfire and Gale? That would be awesome. I would love to see that, actually. And it makes sense because, you know, we know that Garo is, in fact, faster than Flashy Flash. So, in theory, he could definitely move at that speed, you know, where time has stopped, or essentially. I see a lot of people downplaying Garo by saying Saitama went easy on him. But Garo was hit by Saitama more than Boros, healed from a serious headbutt, consecutive normal punches. I mean, it's true. Saitama was holding back against Garo. I mean, it's just built into the story. He straight up basically says it. So we're going to really have to see how it plays out in the manga before we're really going forward with the comparison between their fights against, Saitama's fights against Boros and Garo. But, I mean, Saitama definitely acknowledged Garo as a human. Therefore, he wasn't hitting him as hard as he was hitting Boros, or definitely didn't have the killing intent that he had. My second question is the Ninja Leader versus the Ninja Leader and the Ninjas versus Awakened Garo. So I'm thinking that Awakened Garo will probably win. I mean, the Ninja Leader in theory is above Dragon in speed and power, but we just haven't seen anything from him. He's only taken L's. He's lost to Blast. He's obviously lost to Saitama just like everybody else, but Saitama took him out just like he took out like Sonic or someone. So I'm thinking that Awakened Garo would probably be able to beat him, including the other ninjas as well. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 130 of my overpowered patrons. Guys, your consistent support really means the world to me, so thank you so much. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, just simply check out the Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day.